Hi, everybody. Good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the Oldish TV. My name's Karen Brown. I'm the publisher and editor of the Oldish, and as always, it is my pleasure to welcome you here today. You know, I get sent a lot of questions by direct message. I'm not Dear Abby, but I get a lot of questions, and they're from older adults. And when they add up and when I start to get sort of repetitive kinds of questions, I like to bring them to you um, so that I give the answers that at least I have to a lot of people at one time. And maybe our readers can even chime in. So today I have questions from a divorced person, kids who are worried, family drama, and podcasts. How about that? Lots of questions about all kinds of stuff. I hope you are doing well anyway. And see, my bangs are getting long enough that I can almost tuck them behind my ear. I hope you guys are surviving well. And if you are in areas that are reopening, I hope you are doing it cautiously. I hope you're enjoying the summer. I hope you're sleeping well and eating well. You know, last night I woke up this morning knowing that I had had dream after dream after dream after dream. Can't remember any of the dreams, but I know that I spent a lot of time dreaming last night. Anyway, let's get to our questions. So, the names, if I use any, are fictitious because these questions all came from multiple people. So, I've kind of taken the essence of each and crammed them in together. Um, Trying to combine the names sounded silly anyway. So, the first question has to do with a newly divorced mid-50s woman who's a bit lost. All their friends were mutual, and now the friends are unsure of who should get their allegiance. So, which one of the now divorced couple should get their allegiance. The family home was sold, so she doesn't live in her familiar neighborhood any longer. She works, the kids are grown and gone, and she's missing male companionship and wondering what to do. Well, so let me start by saying that if dating is the objective, it may be challenging because that always seems to come off a bit desperate if all you want to do is date, as opposed to having a more global sphere of friends. So it sounds as though your mutual friends when you were married may have gone different ways. So you need a friend circle as well. You don't just need male companionship, you need a friend circle. And maybe that will maybe not diminish, but fill some of your social needs so that you're not so focused on the dating scene. As I said, I find that always comes off a bit desperate. So the objective should be to build a life for yourself, a life that you love. If you're being, if you're feeling yourself a little bit lost right now, then becoming independent and happy in and of yourself should be your goal. Dating is too narrow. It's really too narrow. So pick activities that you like and pursue them. Think of all the stuff that you might have done when you were with your husband, but didn't because he couldn't be bothered. He didn't like the same things. You know, I know a lot of women who have found enormous satisfaction in doing the things that they always wanted to do, but felt held back from doing because they couldn't do them as a couple and they didn't feel comfortable going off and doing them on their own. So now you are on your own. Go, be, do, be happy, find your joy, find your bliss. You know, the standard stuff, cooking classes, exercise classes, find a group of walkers that you like to be with. If you're interested in mixed gender activities, the Rotary Club is a really good one, and you can find that they do some good work along the way as well. So I would focus on making friends of both genders. Just have to be a little careful because wives may not take it too kindly if you're making friends with their husbands and not them. So don't focus on the husbands. Don't even focus on men. Goodness, don't give them so much of your energy. Give your energy to you. You can't expect all of this good stuff to come to you. So, you know, make the life that you love And I believe that you will find that as you build that life that you love and you revel in the joy of it, you will attract more of the same to yourself. And eventually, that male companionship will come around, but don't force it. Okay? The second question I get a lot is one that we did a show on recently. And it was, my kids want me to move and I don't want to help. That sort of theme of a question. So, our episode 117, called When Your Children Worry, is the episode you want to watch. It was only a couple of weeks ago. My computer is doing some weird stuff here, so I think you can't see it, but I can. Anyway, it was just a couple of weeks ago, but really, when your children are worried, you really want to um, not ignore that conversation. You want to address their concerns very directly. You don't want to move? That's fine. Address their concerns. 9 times out of 10, they're worried about your safety. Well, maybe 10 times out of 10. They're worried about your safety. They're worried about the what ifs. And when they are in their home talking about you, those what ifs become monumental and they worry about you. So address their concerns, address them directly, show them what you're doing to be safe in your life, and, you know, tell them very bluntly, it's your life. But episode 117, that's the one you want to watch. The third question, now this is something that has come up a lot lately, because even though it is an isolationist world, things are starting to open up. Weddings are going ahead. So the question has to do with, I'm divorced, my child is getting married, my ex is going to be there. What do I do? So in this case, I gathered together some details. The son's wedding is coming up. This particular individual, and there were more than one, she doesn't get along with the ex. He'll be bringing his girlfriend to the wedding. His family will be at the wedding. How should I handle this? Well, the bottom line is this. This day is for your son and his bride. It's not about you. It's not about the ex. It's about your son and it's about his bride. So, family drama or not, everybody needs to suck it up and figure out how to get along for the sake of your son. It's only one day, and it's not even the entire day at that. So if they cannot, if you plan to go to the wedding and bicker and not get along with people, stay home, because you do not want your son's memory of his special day being you arguing with the relatives. Nobody wants that. Nobody needs that. So either determine that you're going to get along or stay home. It's challenging for everybody, for sure, to have children together, and there are a lot of families that are divorced or separated. But you're going to be in each other's lives forever because you have children. Presumably, there are going to be other weddings, there are going to be funerals, there are going to be grandchildren, there are going to be events that mean you're going to be in the same room. So you really need to figure out how to navigate those waters. I would suggest that you dress yourself up in your most beautiful dress, that you get your hair done, that you do your makeup or have it done for you, that you just dress yourself to feel spectacular. If you have a piece of jewelry or an item of clothing that gives you a powerful feeling, bring it or wear it. I have one of those, or I did. They're a little tatty to wear anymore, but I have these shoes. I'll tell you the story. When I was in Holland with my brother and his soon-to-be wife, I saw some shoes. It was a shoe style, really, that I really, really liked. And it was not available in North America. So we're going back a lot of years. It was like a booty style of high heel. So not just a straight high heel, but it was actually a bit of a booty, and it had a zipper on the back very often. That's how people got into them. And I determined that I wanted a pair of shoes that looked like that because I just could not find anything like that here in Canada. So we went shopping. We were in a town called Arnhem, and we were in the shopping streets of Arnhem. and there were lots and lots of shoe stores. We went into the first one we found, and I saw a pair of shoes that I just fell in love with. I absolutely loved them. But there were so many shoe stores. I wanted to make sure that these were going to be the ones because I wasn't coming back to Holland anytime soon. So I just kind of remembered those shoes and I went from store to store to store to store looking at shoes and comparing them to the first pair of shoes that I had seen. And my brother was getting more and more weary with my shopping efforts. And, I was getting frustrated and saying, I'm not seeing anything I like better than that first pair of shoes that I saw. And my brother just shook his head and he said, buy the effing shoes. Go back to the store that you first saw them in and buy the effing shoes and let us get on with the day. I laughed myself silly. I did go back to the store and I did buy those shoes and I brought them home. And for some reason, they just always made me feel so special when I wore them. And whenever I had a meeting that was coming up where I needed a little bit of extra courage, or I was going someplace that was special, I would wear these shoes, which in our family became known as the effin' shoes. I'm not going to hurt your ears by, you know what I mean. Anyway, if you have an item of clothing like that, wear it or bring it. Maybe it's a scarf, wear it. It's a piece of jewelry, wear it. If you can and if you want to, bring a date. It doesn't have to be a date, it can be just somebody who's a good friend, somebody that you can lean on, laugh with, enjoy the day with, and just feel a little bit more carefree with as you move your way through the day. You know, when you think about it, his girlfriend has the ex. She has all of his baggage now. You should be glad for that. You're free of it, so that's good. By all means, greet them with your head held high. Don't be catty. Don't say anything catty. Keep those thoughts in your brain and just smile when you think of them. But be gracious. It's only a moment and it will pass. You will have to be together in pictures. Remember, these are pictures for your son and his new bride. It will be their memories. So do what you have to do to make your son happy. Smile in the pictures. Make yourself look as beautiful as you can. You're going to be the one that people are looking at in the pictures besides the bride, for sure, if you look all that gorgeous. Let your ex wonder if he made the right decision in giving you up, right? Give your positive energy to your son and to his bride. Don't give any negative energy to the day. That's only going to bring everybody down and send the wrong message to your son and to his new bride. So enjoy that day. Fourth, I I got a question the other day about what podcasts I recommend. And I have talked about podcasts before, but I've kind of switched it up a bit. So I'm gonna look in my phone here. I've kind of developed a habit of going for a walk every morning, about 5K every morning, and I listen to podcasts. And it's just ever so lovely. And listening to other points of view, listening to people who are experts talk on various subjects, it's kind of fun. So the armchair expert is one of my favorites. That's Dax Shepard. Um, if you know Dax Shepard and Kristen Bell, they're both actors, but he has this podcast show called The Armchair Expert. I really love it. It's my favorite. He interviews not only other actors, but he interviews experts in academia, science, all kinds of things, writers, athletes, all kinds of people. I believe there are about 2 episodes a week that are released. They're long, they're about an hour long. And he really likes to curse. You've got to make peace with that. But if you can get your head around that, it is a really informative show. So there's that one. Alan Alda, remember him from MASH? He has one called Clear and Vivid. Love, love, love his shows. Clear and Vivid. And he actually did one I was listening to the other day where he hooked up with a couple of his colleagues from the MASH show, and they talked about how they were all surviving in the COVID environment. So that was really interesting. Deck the Hallmark is a really funny one. I haven't listened to it for a while, but I still have it in my rotation because they're just funny. It's three guys who have different opinions about Hallmark Christmas shows. It started about Christmas shows, but now they do them on the Hallmark shows that are released year round because now they've found, I guess, the summer ones, or sorry, the Christmas ones are so well watched that now they've started doing spring and summer ones. So these guys review them. There's one guy who loves Hallmark stories. There's one guy, he's kind of okay about them. And there's one guy who detests them. So they all give their points of view about any given movie. They watch the movie and they dissect it. It's really pretty funny. There's a new one that is in my rotation. Haven't listened to it yet, but I've seen the guy interviewed about it, Rob Lowe, and his podcast is called Literally. I like Rob Lowe, so I think I'm probably going to like his podcast. Real Life Renos. I've got to mention the Real Life Renos podcast. That is another Facebook page and series that I have. Real Life Renos is about renovating not only the spaces we live in, but our minds, about how we choose to organize the spaces we live in. I'm really fascinated by this whole concept, and I'm currently doing a course at the University of Southern California on home modification. So I'm going to be bringing all of that to you. So there is a podcast. We've got 6 episodes released now, and that is season 1 done. Season 2 will be starting up shortly. For those of you who are Canadian, you will know a lady by the name of Arlene Dickinson. She has a podcast, a brand new one called Reinvention, and it's about people who have reinvented their lives along the way. Could be their life, it could be their career, but reinvention. I really quite like Arlene Dickinson. So that's a really good one. I discovered one the other day, and actually through listening to Armchair Expert. Dax Shepard did an interview with Malcolm Gladwell. Don't know if you know him. He's a Canadian and really quite famous for a lot of the philosophies that he puts forward. But he actually has a podcast series called Revisionist History. I'm gathering that his different seasons have different cover photos. So the one I'm looking at now is the current one, and it has an R and an H. Let me show you that one. I'll just show you. You see that R and the H, Revisionist History. So I'm listening to one, or I have just finished listening to one actually, where he talks about art museums and how they catalog their holdings. Sounds dry as dust, but I found it absolutely fascinating. Sibling Revelry is another one that I like to listen to. That is Kate Hudson and her brother Oliver Hudson. They talk to siblings. They are siblings and they talk to other siblings. Some of them are famous, some of them aren't. I find it really interesting. Quite like that. The Feed with Amber Mack, for those of you who are techie inclined, I like that one. The Way I Heard It by Mike Rowe. Do you know Mike Rowe? He used to do a series called Dirty Jobs. And I find his sense of humor, it's ever so dry, but I really, really like his sense of humor. He's got a podcast called The Way I Heard It, like that one. Under the Influence is a CBC podcast, really like that one. Under the Influence, and they have the Under the Influence crew has a new one out called We Regret to Inform You, and it's all about people who were dismissed in the years gone by, but went on to be quite famous. What can I get? Lady Gaga. She was rejected a lot, rejecting Jay-Z. Pretty Woman, the script of Pretty Woman, the story of how it came to be is a podcast. That was a really, really interesting story. Lisa Kudrow, as an actress, was rejected time and time and time again. So that was actually pretty interesting. I like that series. We Regret to Inform You. And there's another one called White Coat, Black Art which is another CBC show, and Dr. Brian Goldman is the front man on that. He talks about some really interesting stuff, and there are scads and scads of those. So that's sort of my podcast group that I listen to. Um, I'm liking podcasts. I find that just to go for a walk and listen to one is a really good time um, to take in some new knowledge and hear about some new people. When I'm driving in the car, I listen to podcasts. Sometimes when I'm just sitting outside on the deck, I listen to podcasts as well. It gives me something to focus on. My mind is always busy, it seems, and if I'm not listening to a podcast, I'm thinking of other stuff. And this gives me a way to sort of focus my mind. The fifth thing I am asked a lot is from people who want to know if they can suggest topics to me for this show. Absolutely, you can. Absolutely. If you've got a subject you would like for me to address, by all means, let me know what you'd like to hear about. And here we've got some people who are watching. Surapal from Thailand. Hi, it must be nighttime for you. Good to know that you're with us again today, Surapal. Thank you so much. Surapal always calls me sir. So we have to teach you this English. I am not a sir. Sir is a man. Ma'am is a woman, but I really don't enjoy being called ma'am. You can just call me Karen. That would work quite well. And there's Marlene saying hi. Hi, Marlene. Good to see you watching today. Hope everything is well with you and your family. Marlene has a bit of a spread out family, some in another part of the province that we live in, some in another province entirely. So she's a busy woman keeping up with all the family spread out everywhere. So yes, if you have topics that you want to suggest for me to tackle on this broadcast, by all means, let us know. I want to show you an article that was published this morning that our writer Heather did that I absolutely love, especially in this environment. Let me just share my screen with you. That is this one, Tools to Sort Fact from Fiction. Isn't this something we all struggle with? Yeah, and she starts out by saying there are buckets of misinformation. Yes, yes, and sometimes it is very difficult to understand what is true and what's not. And as she points out in the article, older people are particularly vulnerable to passing along misinformation. So, learning how to sort through it and understand what is the truth is really, really important. So, these are some questions. Oh, yes. Oh, this is a good thing. AARP volunteers trained by MediaWise will provide free sessions to older adults to teach them how to be news savvy. That would be a really good thing to link into. Fact checking some of the things, just when you read something or see something online, ask yourself who is behind the information. What is the evidence? And if you're looking at information surrounding COVID-19, evidence-based science is what you want to look at. There are headlines all over the place. Now, I'll tell you about a headline I saw the other day, and I did read the article and I questioned it because the wearing of face masks is an important topic. And we have covered that before on an earlier episode, but information is constantly changing. But there was a headline on Global News the other day that said that countries that supported wearing masks saw COVID rates reduced considerably. If you actually read the story and followed their links, mask wearing was one tool. Practicing social distancing was another tool, and hand washing was another tool. So the decline in the number of COVID cases was not a result of simply wearing masks, as the headline would have you believe. It was multifactorial. And it's really, really important for us to understand that it's not just one thing where it relates to this headline, because it it can give people a feeling of increased confidence where they shouldn't have that confidence. It is many things that lead to the reduction of COVID cases. So, it's really important to investigate the headlines carefully, to ask those questions yourself. What do other sources say? Is the third question. And there is a piece down here at the bottom, um, to test your news literacy. Address these 12 questions. And I went through and I did those questions. I consider myself quite literate, and I missed a couple. So I learned lessons by doing that myself. And I highly recommend that you read this article. Again, it is called Tools to Sort Fact from Fiction. A really good one. And Sarah Paul is asking, how have you been? I've been very well, thank you, Sarah Paul. I hope you have been well also. For those of you who have been on some of our earlier broadcasts, you will know that Sarah Paul watches our broadcasts as one of the ways to learn English. And I'm absolutely delighted, and I hope I'm not making too many grammatical mistakes. But I hope you're well, Sarah Paul, and thank you for joining us today. So I am going to tell you that on July the 2nd, over on our Real Life Renos channel at 7 p.m., we are bringing you the interview that we wanted to bring you a couple weeks ago. It was almost 2 weeks ago now. We intended to bring that interview to you, but the technology goofed up. It happens sometimes. And so we are going to bring you that interview again with a contractor who works specifically with doing home modifications. His name is John Grow. He is ever so interesting. And for those of you who have an interest in home modifications, you will be able to ask your questions of John live because we're going to go live. So that'll be good. Now, understand home modifications aren't necessarily gigantic renovations. Picking up an area rug is actually considered a home modification. Go figure. They can be small things. There are lots of small things that you can do. And if there's something in your home that you struggle with as an older adult and you're wondering how that could be changed around to make your life a little easier for you, John's the guy to ask. And like I say, he will be on live July 2nd on the Real Life Renos Facebook page. So go and like that page if you haven't already. And we will be sure to ask your questions of John. Carol, nice to have your message today. I thought it was a bit odd that I didn't like being called ma'am, but good to know others feel that way. Sorting through fact and fiction is a concern of mine more and more. Yes, Carol, yes. I think it should be a concern of all of ours because there's just so much out there. Fake news is sadly a thing. I don't know if you're from Canada, but I am, and I remember the days of people like Knowlton Nash. And I long for those days. I just long for those days when there was somebody who would report news objectively and whose word I felt I could trust. I just don't know who I can trust anymore. I truly don't. And it's important to have tools that help me sort out what's true from what's not. And I don't take anything at face value anymore. I mean, you shouldn't take this broadcast at face value. You shouldn't. Check out what I say and it will be yes, Canada. Yes, you're in Canada. Okay, good to know. Good to know. Then you will probably know Knowlton Nash. They say that CTV News. Now I say they say. This was one of my fact checking things. What is the most trustworthy broadcast medium today? And CTV, which is a Canadian news source, ranked very high, which I'm glad to see. But I don't trust everything that they say either. I do my own fact checking, and if it's something particularly that I'm going to put out in the media, even if it's just on my own Facebook page. And those of you who are watching, I know Marlene is a Facebook friend of mine. My Facebook friends will know that I quite often challenge people who publish things that aren't true. I'll go to Snopes.com, Snopes, Snopes.com, and check the legitimacy of something. And I will suggest to people that they might not want to believe that or share that. This business of sharing false information, people see a headline that they like and they go, yeah, that sounds good. And they share it. And if it's not true, really, you do more harm than good by having people buy into schlock. So I encourage everybody to take a minute and just determine whether or not what's out there is true or not before you believe it. There are fact checking sources. Marlene is saying thank you for those challenges. Marlene has seen me challenge people more than once, I'm sure. So, yeah, um, you know, some people don't like that I challenge stuff, but I think if we all lift each other up by challenging that and letting the truth shine through, we're all better for it. All right, so that is our show for today, and I will look forward to seeing you all again next Wednesday at 12 noon. I have a subject that I think I want to talk about next Wednesday, and it's vision boards. If there are some of you out there that are loving doing vision boards, um, you might want to join us and share your opinions, share your own vision boards. I'm in the process of doing one. It's not the first one I've done, but it just occurred to me that, we talk a lot about building your own life and having your life be what it wants. And a vision board could be a tool that benefits you. So next Wednesday, 12 noon, vision boards. Until then, take care of one another, be kind to yourselves, and do remember that it takes a village to age a senior. Bye, everybody.